All right, now on to Warrior. One of the worst, well, actually, the worst arena class that you can play at the moment. In fact, it's almost pointless to review these cards because, quite frankly, if you're playing arena to win, you just shouldn't be picking Warrior as your class pretty much ever. That's kind of a weird thing where, um, because you're always given three choices, the worst two choices you should basically never pick. Warrior is very clearly, I think, the worst choice for your arena experience. It's just not a good class, and it's gotten worse. And other classes have gotten better. And yeah, let's get into why this is just a really horrible class that you should never play. First off, we have Cornered Sentry. Cornered Sentry is not a very good card. I'm gonna pass on this most of the time that I see it. Even when it has kind of its upside is usually it's a 2-3 taunt for 2, right? If you imagine all of the Raptors trading into your Cornered Sentry, then that's one thing that can happen. You need like a Whirlwind type effect to go alongside this, but even then, if you play 2 cards, you get Cornered Sentry and then you Whirlwind. Cornered Sentry remains as a 2/5, and you got to Whirlwind your opponent's board, but if you didn't get value out of that, then you just kind of spent 2 cards to get a 2/5 for 2. I think I'll pass on that. Also, a lot of times, just you're not going to be able to dictate the way that trades go. You'll play this, and your opponent's Raptors will not go after this guy. And instead, their 6 attack, like they'll have some 6/5, and their 6/5 will eat this, and then you'll just be behind 3 Raptors. Right? It was a 2 mana deal 2 damage to their 6/5. They summon 3/1/1 Raptors. That's not good. This card isn't good. I think you avoid this whenever you can. Direhorn Hatchling. This guy's okay. I don't quite remember the exact stats on the 6/9 Direhorn with Taunt. I remember it's like, I think it's maybe like 5 mana. Is it 5 mana? I should actually check that right now. I should have checked this before I started recording. The main thing to know is that this guy is basically Tar Creeper in terms of his stats. So he's not that bad when it comes down to it. Yeah, 5 mana Direhorn Matriarch. Yep. So 5 mana. It's a 5 mana 6/9. I was right the first time, which is pretty good, right? I like having a 6/9 taunt in my deck. Of course, it isn't adding it to your hand, so that means that you're not quite right. You're not quite drawing a card. It isn't card advantage. The 5 mana 6/9 is nice, but then you need to draw into it, and with a 30 card deck, it's quite possible you play your games and you never draw after you never draw that card. But at worst, this card is Fen Creeper, right? And that's good enough. This is going to be like a tier 2-ish type card that you're going to draft a decent chunk of the time. Yeah, I think that's fair. Explore Goro. This card, when I saw it, it really, really made me think that Warrior was going to be a class that I played a lot in Arena. The unfortunate thing is that while this effect is very strong, replace your deck with copies of Discover a Card, those copies of Discover a Card are actual cards that cost 1 mana to play. And the fact they cost 1 mana to play kind of means this is 2 mana. Have this great effect, right? I would like my deck to be nothing but Discover a Card, but also destroy one of your mana crystals, which is not something I want to be doing ever, really. I mean, I don't know. This card just isn't good. Yeah, it's even worse than destroying a mana crystal because ultimately, what happens when you're at 10 mana? You're not getting back that mana crystal. You're still spending a mana every turn to discover a card. You discover a 10 mana card, and then it has to sit in your hand next turn. It's just not good. This card is bad. I really wish it wasn't because it could redeem entirely the Warrior class in Arena, but it's just not good because the copies of Discover a Card cost 1 mana. Ironhide. This card is garbage. This card is just the worst. Why would you put this in the game? I don't think it's relevant for Constructed, and it's horrible because, again, going back to the preface talk where I talked about offering rates, this is a spell, which gets a bonus. It's a class card, and it's from the latest set. So you're going to see this about 1.8 times per draft, and it's just going to be a dead card that you can't pick up. This is the card where you're going to see this alongside 2 really bad, like, 1-drops, and you're going to remember why you should never pick Warrior in Arena. Everyone else is going to be offered 90 cards to pick from in their Arena draft. You're going to be offered 88 because this is going to be roughly 2 of the slots, and it's so useless of an effect. This card is horrible. Part of the reason why you should never be playing Warrior in Arena. It's just really bad. Don't play Warrior in Arena. King Mosh. This card is not part of the reason why you shouldn't play Warrior in Arena. This card's actually really good. 9 mana, 9/7 is already a decent enough rate. Battlecry, destroy all damaged minions. It's not hard to maneuver a board around where this guy comes down and he wipes all your opponent's biggest stuff. If you've got a board of 2 1/1s and your opponent has a board of 2 giant mastodons, yeah, this is gonna wipe their board. Doesn't matter what the health is on their guys. It doesn't take much setting up to do a lot of work with this guy, and sometimes it doesn't even really require any setup at all. I mean, just in the normal course of the game, a lot of times what your opponent's going to be doing, especially in this meta, they're going to be playing big, slow stuff. They're going to trade it into your board, and then you're going to play this guy, and he's going to execute all of their creatures, and you're just going to have this sudden swing that wins you a game. That said, he's a legendary, and you're not going to see him all that often, but this is a legendary that I'm going to take over most of other legendaries. Tier 1, in other words. Molten Blade. This card's okay. Weapons are good in Arena, so even if you get a bad weapon off of this guy, it's fine. And if it really is a bad weapon, you can just wait. Like, I mean, if you get a Cursed Blade, you just wait for... Is Cursed Blade still in? I don't remember if Cursed Blade is still in. In any case, this card's fine. In fact, I think Cursed Blade is not in, so I don't think you can even get Cursed Blade. But weapons are good. This is a weapon. You're going to draft this a lot. I'd say this is like bottom of Tier 1, top of Tier 2, somewhere around there. Not super impressive, I guess. In the ideal world. Again, going back to the preface, everything that I'm saying is the top third, weighted by probability, I'm calling Tier 1. So when I say this card is Tier 1, I'm not saying it's like balls amazing, just, always pick it. But I'm saying in your ideal 30-card deck where you took the best 30 cards that you were offered in your Arena draft, in your Arena offer, this is one of those cards that you picked up. So I think this is a card you pick up more often than you're going to toss it away. Weapons are good. That's the short of it. This weapon is bad to top deck, but it's fine pretty much everywhere else. Yeah, it's fine. Ornery Direhorn. This card's pretty good. I'm going to put it up there with the weapon. Sort of this kind of high tier 2-ish, low tier 1 type card. It is kind of awkward that it already has taunt, and so when you adapt, taunt is just a dead option. But most of the other stuff is really good. If I play a 6 mana 5/5 Divine Shield with taunt, this is right. This is Sunwalker, but better, right? Extra attack, yeah, sure, I'll take it. I play this and it gets +1/+1. It's a 6/6 taunt for 6. That's fine. It's a 5/8 taunt for 6. I get this, and it has Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1s. I mean, that's even better given that it has taunt, so your opponent has to get through that, and then the 1/1s come out. Yeah, this card is good. This card is solid. Very good creature. Great to see it at common. Sudden Genesis. I've thought about a lot about this card. I don't think it's good. It is nice that you're summoning the minions. It's not like Echo of Medivh where they go into your hand. It's also kind of bad that you're summoning the minions because there's only 7 slots on your board. If you have 4 creatures, 3 of them are damaged, you summon 3 creatures. The max number of creatures you can summon with this is 3. That's, I mean, I don't know. Given that this will whiff so often, that this will just be a 5-mana card that does nothing so frequently, yeah, you have some ways to enable it, some whirlwind effects and things of that sort, but man, it's so often just going to be a 5-mana do-nothing card that when its upside is summon 3 minions, I'm just not that crazy about it. I think I'll pass a lot on this. Yeah, I think this card is just bad, actually. I think it's just not bad, not good, not playable. Don't draft this card. Then we have Tarlord. Tarlord in like Warlock would be more impressive, but I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to do with Warrior because again, none of these cards that we've seen are really like slow attrition-y type cards that give me card advantage. So Tarlord isn't like gumming up the ground for some time where eventually I get there with my card advantage. I'm not drawing cards off of my hero power. I'm not drawing cards off of my cards. I don't have the 2-mana 2/2s that draw me cards. I have a 2-mana 2/6 that gives my opponent stuff. So I don't know. I think this card is solid. I think if this was a neutral or a Warlock class card, I'd be talking about it more. But a 5/11 taunt that has no offensive capabilities for 7 mana is I don't know what Warrior's supposed to do, but it doesn't seem like that wins. So I don't like this card as much. I think this is like tier 2-ish, tier 3 even. I'm just not super impressed by this card because I don't think it's doing what you need to do as Warrior. I don't know what you're supposed to do as Warrior to win though, so maybe this card is better. And there you have it, all the Warrior cards. Overall, don't draft Warrior, kids. It's bad.